Nagumo is an ugly broke twink who became homeless after his house burned down. However, when a dummy mommy finds him starving, she takes him to a girl's dorm where he meets 5 hot baddies who let him stay with them in exchange of getting back shots. It all starts one night when Nagumo's house catches fire, and instead of being there for him, his father says peace out and leaves for Afghanistan.
For elimination the operations.
Since then, Nagumo had been living like a bum who filled his stomach by eating from the trash. Out of hunger one day, he collapses on the street when a mommy with huge wagamamas shows up and asks him if he would like to eat her tuna.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Jumping on the offer, Nagumo follows Juicy Jugs to her place, where she gives him a bowl of Ichiraku ramen and introduces herself as Minaru before casually licking a fish cake on his face. When his joystick gets activated, Nagumo runs to the bathroom to take a cold shower, and there, he is greeted by an ape buffet, which makes him freeze in shock. Suddenly, one of the chicks points and laughs at his millimeter Peter, making him run out of embarrassment, only to collide with a girl named Atena. The next thing he knows, he's saying hello to Atena's hairy kitty. Scared by her bush, Nagumo tries to run, but the girls pin him down while he tries to tell them that it's all a big misunderstanding. However, one of the baddies tells Nagumo that because of him, Atena is bleeding out of her nose, and he feels sorry for her. After that, Minaru welcomes Nagumo to the goddess dormitory and introduces him to Kiria, Frey, and Serene, so Nagumo apologizes to them for seeing them without their plot armor. After forgiving him, the girls then ask him how he ended up here, so when he reveals his entire sob story, Minaru feels so bad for him that she offers him to work as their live-in dorm mother, as it will solve his money issues and allow him to focus on school. Nagumo instantly says yes, so he can flex about living with hot college babes, but Serene reminds everyone they might have to convince Atena. As they take Nagumo to her room to explain the situation, Atena immediately says she won't live with a man and leaves the dormitory with all her belongings. Seeing this, Nagumo asks Minaru if Atena is one of those colored-haired feminists, so she explains to him that Atena grew up with a single mother and later attended an all-girls school, which is why she behaves abnormally around men. Minaru also admits that she didn't take him in just to help him, but also because she hoped his presence would help Atena get more comfortable around men. However, now that Atena has left, Nagumo refuses to live here, stating he won't steal someone else's home. After that, he leaves to chase after Atena, but she keeps running further away from him until Nagumo reassures her that she can go back home, as he has turned down the job offer. As Atena returns to the dormitory, she suddenly realizes it must have been hard for Nagumo to live on the streets, and yet he willingly gave up a comfortable place to stay for a total stranger. Meanwhile, Nagumo shivers in the cold night and passes out, but then Atena shows up and carries him back to the dorm. Midway, Nagumo wakes up and accidentally squeezes her honkers, which once again triggers her man phobia. As Atena faints from the impact, Nagumo carries her to the dorm and receives a warm welcome from everyone. However, he nervously asks them if Atena will forgive him for getting handsy with her, and Minaru assures him that Atena has forgiven him. While Nagumo is relieved, the girls congratulate him for becoming their new dorm mother. A few days later, as Nagumo cleans the yard, he overhears a few passers-by bad-mouthing the goddess dormitory. He shrugs it off at first, but when he returns inside to clean the second floor, he is shocked to see it cluttered with trash bags. Observing the state, Nagumo realizes the girls are a mess, except for Atena, who doesn't have trash bags outside her room. He quickly snaps out of his disgust, reminding himself that he was hired to take care of the dormitory. As he rings Minaru's doorbell to clean her room, he is greeted by her woobies and has a crash out. Minaru casually apologizes, revealing that as a researcher, she has to stay bare for scientific reasons. After telling Minaru to put some clothes on, Nagumo crawls away and ends up getting kidnapped by Frey. Inside her room, Nagumo is forced to dress as a catboy, and when he pleads to be freed, Frey tells him that it is part of his duties to get to know the hobbies of the residents. She then reveals that she's a total weeb who loves to cosplay for fat Discord mods. As she casually tells him that she forces people to wear her handmade cosplay dresses, Nagumo tells her she should be jailed with Diddy. Ignoring this, Frey gives a measuring tape to Nagumo and starts to strip, revealing that she wants him to measure her body. Nagumo does his best to help her at first, but after seeing the bounce effect on her bazookas, he tries to run away, only to get crushed underneath her. Just then, Minaru rushes inside, revealing that because of a failed experiment, they need to evacuate the dormitory immediately. As they all head out, Nagumo sees the toxic fumes coming out of the window and tells Minaru that she's the reason that penguins are offing themselves. Minaru just shrugs and says it will be fine since nobody has sued her yet, while Frey tells Nagumo that Minaru is famous on campus for being a walking toxic fumes generator. Minaru counters by saying that Frey is known as the walking dress-up demon, and Nagumo finally realizes that they are the reasons why the dormitory has such a bad rep. Seeing the girls behave so carelessly, Nagumo angrily scolds them, telling them they should take responsibility for their wrongdoings. For the first time, Minaru and Frey realize their mistake, so they apologize to Nagumo. Feeling bad for making them say sorry, Nagumo runs off, leaving the girls all confused. Moments later, Nagumo stops and thinks to himself that a loser bum like him has no right to scold the women who saved his life. He then realizes that everyone is taking photos of him since he is still dressed as a cat boy. In the meantime, Minaru and Frey reflect on Nagumo's words, realizing that because of their habits, they have harmed a lot of people. Just as they're starting to feel cold, Nagumo shows up with a blanket and throws it over the girls. The girls then reward Nagumo by sandwiching him between their milk cannons when Atena arrives and gets a nosebleed. After recovering from it, Atena holds a meeting and scolds the girls for roaming around like Bonnie Blue. She then tells everyone that she's imposing a morality law as she doesn't want Nagumo to turn into a gooner. However, in retaliation, Minaru reveals her plots, so Atena pulls out a device to slap her chest, while Nagumo smiles, knowing this is absolute cinema. Several nights later, as Nagumo prepares to go to bed, he thinks about how his life got better after meeting Minaru and the other girls. Around the same time, Juicy Melons, Minaru, completes her latest experiment and thinks about testing it out on Nagumo. Similarly, Frey stitches up a new costume for Nagumo, while he is completely unaware of the storm coming his way. Just then, Nagumo hears a loud thump from the room above him, and seconds later, the ceiling collapses, with Kiria dangling out from it. Before Nagumo has the time to process, Kiria wiggles downward and lands directly on Nagumo. After getting off of him, Kiria apologizes profusely, assuring him that she will fix the ceiling. However, all Nagumo can think of is if Kiria had your mom in her room, until he spots a manga in the pile of rubble. Noticing his gaze, Kiria freaks out and quickly hides the romance manga, while Nagumo assures her that she shouldn't be ashamed of it. Kiria then reveals that it is out of character for her to read romance manga, since she is a tomboy who does martial arts. However, after attending college, she accidentally purchased a romance manga and immediately got hooked on it. After explaining everything to Nagumo, Kiria picks up the manga to read from it and fantasizes about having her own love story. When all of this gets to her head, she excitedly punches the wall, and Nagumo finally realizes how she broke the ceiling. Just then, Kiria asks Nagumo if she can sleep with him tonight, explaining that she likes to roll around in her sleep and doesn't want to fall through the hole. Nagumo blushes slightly and asks Kiria if she is okay with sleeping with a man, but she casually tells him that she's used to bunking with her brothers at home. As they prepare to sleep together, Kiria asks Nagumo if she can have a chat with him since he reminds her of her brothers back home. Nagumo reluctantly says yes, only for Kiria to lock him in an armbar, as she casually tells him that this is how she communicates with her brothers back home. While Kiria gets lost in all the fun, Nagumo tells her that he can't breathe, so Kiria finally lets go of him and apologizes profusely for getting carried away. After calming down, Nagumo tells Kiria that she may think of him as one of her brothers, but the truth is they're not related to each other, and that's why she should stay away from him. Or else he will cream himself to death if she chokes him again. Nagumo then realizes that everything he said was embarrassing, so he runs to Kiria's room and tells her to just use his room for the night. Worried that he will fall, Kiria tells Nagumo to come down, but he insists on sleeping in her room. Moments later, Kiria tries to fall asleep, but all she can think of is how Nagumo treated her as a woman, so she gets flustered again. Up in her room, Nagumo hears Kiria screaming again and feels sorry for his precious room. When Nagumo finally falls asleep, Serene creeps up on him, thinking it's Kiria. As Nagumo wakes up and asks what she is doing, Serene explains that she wanted to ask Kiria to make her a late-night snack. Noticing the hole, Serene blankly says that Kiria made a mess again. She then tells Nagumo that if he agrees to become her servant, she will repair the floor using lunar technology. Since he's on the verge of sleep, he mindlessly says yes, so Serene quietly pecks his lips and leaves before he wakes up. The next morning, Kiria returns to her room and praises Nagumo for fixing her room. However, he blankly looks at the fixed floor and briefly recalls Serene standing by the window, but brushes it off as a dream. Later that morning, Nagumo fixes breakfast for everyone when the girls come down and praise him for maintaining order in the goddess dormitory. While they're talking, Atena sees Minoru's pepperonis peeking out of her shirt and brings out her morality device to punish her. After they are done eating breakfast, Minoru tells Nagumo that, as his reward, she'd let him be his test subject, while Frey pulls up a new costume for him, and Kiria tells him that she wants to spar with him later on. Atena feels left out after seeing the other girls interact with Nagumo, but what shocks her the most is when Serene casually tells him to make dinner tonight, as it leaves her wondering what Nagumo did to tame a wild beast like Serene. Minoru then tells Nagumo that they would all love for him to make dinner, as none of them can cook even if their lives depended on it. Nagumo asks them what they were eating before him, and the girls tell him they used to microwave ramen, making them realize just how hopeless they are. He then tells them that he is going to go grocery shopping, and asks Minoru to give him money for it. She casually tells him to just take the money from the freaky piggy bank. At this, Nagumo asks Minoru what the budget will be for the groceries, but she tells him to spend as he likes, since they all trust him. Observing this, Atena wonders what happened in her absence that made everyone trust Nagumo so much. So she tells Nagumo she is going to come with him for grocery shopping, and while he thanks her, Minoru reminds him of Atena's condition. He asks what she means, so she pushes him onto Atena's wubes, making her bleed from the nose. Despite this, Atena remains determined to come with Nagumo, as she desperately wants to know why the girls trust him blindly. Few hours later, they head out, and Nagumo asks Atena if she is okay, so she tells him that she's wearing nose plugs underneath her mask, which will take care of her nosebleed. However, the second she sees a couple of boys, she freaks out and stumbles upon Nagumo, and gets a nosebleed. Seeing all this, Nagumo tells Atena to go back home, but she quickly changes her mask, and assures him she has come prepared. Once they are finally done with the grocery shopping, Nagumo commends Atena for facing her fears head-on, but she tells him that she's not as brave as he thinks. Nagumo doesn't believe that and reminds her of the time when she brought him back to the dormitory, despite being uncomfortable by his presence. At that moment, Atena realizes that Nagumo won everyone with his kindness, and calls him immoral for trapping them with his sweet words. While running from him, Atena bumps into a bunch of hotties, and is about to shoot blood from her nose when Nagumo rescues her from the impending embarrassment. After grabbing her, Nagumo makes a run for the internet cafe, which used to be his safe shelter when he was homeless. He then notices Atena sitting quietly and becomes worried, believing he has offended her. So, he kneels and apologizes for grabbing her without consent, but Atena tells him that she's not upset with him. In fact, she wants him to call her big sister from now on. When Nagumo tries to ask her why, Atena begs him not to ask any questions and just do as she says. When Nagumo calls her big sister, Atena creams in her skirt while Nagumo wonders if she is from Alabama. Atena then wonders if it's safe to touch Nagumo now that she has bro-zoned him, so, to test it out, she gives him a head pat. When her nose doesn't bleed, she tells Nagumo to think of her as his big sister. Only seconds left, her skirt falls down, and by the magic of plot god, she ends up sitting on Nagumo's face. After all that chaos, they return home, and while Nagumo serves dinner, Atena wonders what she can do for him as his big sis. Just then, Minoru and Frey start diddling Nagumo, so Atena comes to his rescue and warns everyone that from now on, she is going to protect Nagumo's innocence, not knowing he's living a better life than any Oniender viewer. A few months later, as Nagumo prepares to do his laundry, Minoru casually throws her melon guardians and tells him to wash them. When the loser starts tweaking, Minoru teases him further by removing her peach protectors, ordering him to wash them too. After a while, Nagumo finishes the laundry and goes outside to hang it. As he picks up Minoru's plot armor, he wonders if he should wear it on his face, but ultimately decides against it. After finishing his chores, Nagumo rests for a bit and thinks about how he hasn't gone to school ever since his house burned down. Several minutes later, Nagumo prepares breakfast for everyone and goes to call everyone, starting from Atena. However, Atena refuses to come out until he calls her big sis, so he shyly does that, and Atena comes out. As she tries to pat his head, Nagumo gets a 4K view of her soft melons, which breaks his mind. To make matters worse, Frey bamboozles him by pushing him inside her chest, asking him if he wants to see her in a see-through gown. Witnessing this, Atena brings out her morality device, but Minoru arrives and tells her that she should discipline herself since she's always getting freaky with Nagumo by acting as his big sister. Before Athena can protest, Kiria arrives and tells everyone that she is Nagumo's older sister while crushing him with her fat milk bags. When everyone starts fighting over Nagumo, Minoru announces a competition to see who is deserving of being Nagumo's sister. Moments later, Nagumo finds himself dressed like a victim from Epstein Island and asks Frey why she has forced him into a dress. So she tells him that big sisters are always playing dress up with their brothers, but Nagumo counters that she is the only one to do that. However, Frey argues that he looks cute, but then Kiria disqualifies her for blatantly lying to Nagumo. Since this was all Minoru's plan, Frey asks her what she would do in her position, and Minoru proudly states that she would use Nagumo as her lab rat, which instantly gets her disqualified by all three of them. Just then, a sleepy Serene comes out of her room, so the girls fill her in on the big sister competition, asking her what she would do, and right away Serene takes a nap on Nagumo's lap while asking him to feed her. After collectively deciding that Serene is more of a pet than an elder sister, the girls tell Kiria to go next, who proudly tells them that she'll win this contest as she has brothers. With that, she puts Nagumo in a headlock, claiming that all sisters want to flatline their brothers, and when Nagumo tries to tap out, she further suffocates him with her thick peach until he passes out. When Athena rushes to check up on Nagumo, the girls tell her that she looks more like his mommy than his sister, and just then Nagumo accidentally pulls down her shirt, revealing her headlights. As Athena bleeds all over Nagumo's face, he goes to take a shower, and once he's done, the girls apologize to him before starting a fight over him again. Nagumo thinks to himself that while they are all crazy, he loves having hot older girls around him. After hearing this, Minoru reveals that she and Frey have a surprise for him before announcing that he is going back to school. Knowing that the girls must have gone through a lot of hoops to get him re-enrolled, Nagumo assures them that he will study so hard that he is going to cure feet lovers. While they are all celebrating, Athena becomes disappointed with herself, thinking that she should have been the one to enroll Nagumo. However, seeing him so happy, Athena becomes determined to become a responsible older sister. Just a few days later, Nagumo returns to school and is overjoyed to see his old shoe locker, when all of a sudden, he gets kicked by an angry loli. Recovering from the pain, Nagumo then realizes that it's his classmate and friend, Suta, who then tells him that he should have at least sent her a text after his house burned down. However, she quickly changes her mind and tells Nagumo that she doesn't care before walking away from him. Right away, Suta regrets treating Nagumo so coldly, but when he comes to check on her, she tells him to piss off again. Nagumo knows that deep down, Suta cares about him, so he apologizes profusely for ghosting her, but Suta continues to give him the cold shoulder. Later in class, Nagumo watches Suta pouting and wonders if he should tell her everything that happened till he found a sweet spot at the goddess dormitory, but then worries about Suta judging him for living with 5 college baddies. Throughout the day, Nagumo tries to talk to Suta but is unable to find the right time. After school, he is about to approach her when his teacher tearfully tells him that he heard everything that happened from his relative. Nagumo immediately realizes that Minoru must have been behind this, but his mind gets diverted when he sees Suta walking out of the class. As he chases after her and tries to grab her hand, she angrily tells him to never touch her again, so he takes a step back in shock. As Suta walks away, Nagumo regrets touching her after remembering her condition. Meanwhile, Suta cools off on the rooftop and feels sorry for having a condition that makes her extra sensitive to heat, so that she can't even hold hands with the person she loves because of their body heat. Before meeting Nagumo, she was a lonely girl who watched others play while she sat alone. Then one day, Nagumo approached her, asking her to play with everyone, but she refused and told him about how her body tingled with disgust after feeling someone's body heat. Without saying much, he ran inside, and Suta thought he had left, until she heard the teachers telling him not to dip his hands in the icy water. After approaching her, Nagumo placed his cold hands on her cheeks before asking her if he could hold her hands. Since his hands were cold, Suta agreed, and for the first time, she got to play with someone. In the present, she smiles at the memory, recalling how moments later she pushed Nagumo away when his hands returned to their normal temperature. As Suta curses herself for behaving opposite to how she feels, Nagumo arrives and gently places cold hands on her cheeks. He then reveals a bag full of ice, revealing that Minoru helped him pack everything for her. When Suta asks about Minoru, Nagumo reveals everything from the beginning, but Suta thinks that he is joking around. Nagumo insists that he is telling the truth, so Suta asks him to take her to the goddess dormitory, but as they bicker over it, Nagumo accidentally falls on top of her. However, instead of telling him to get off, Suta tells him that she wants to become someone he can rely on before kicking him again. Later that day, Suta follows Nagumo home, but he tries his best to send her away, which makes her think that he is hiding something from her. Just then, they see toxic fumes covering the sky, and moments later, Frey and Minaharu arrive outside. As they greet Nagumo, Suta goes into shock after seeing the busy chicks Nagumo has been living with. A few hours later, Athena returns home from college and is greeted by an angry Suta. Confused, she asks Nagumo who that is, and he gives her the whole backstory on Suta. In addition, he tells Suta that Athena is the most sane resident of the goddess dormitory. Hearing this, Minaru and Frey call Athena boring, and then suddenly Frey attacks Suta, calling her body perfect for cosplays. Nagumo quickly stops Frey and informs her that Suta doesn't like being touched. While the girls are impressed by Nagumo's protectiveness, Suta kicks him, only to regret it later on. Frey and Minaharu immediately know what's up, while Athena looks at them dumbfounded, so the girls tell her that if she doesn't play her card right, Suta will steal Nagumo away from her. As Athena argues with them that she is just Nagumo's sister, Kiria arrives with Serene on her back and states that she is Nagumo's only sister. Suta finally has enough of their nonsense and tells them she will decide if Nagumo should live here or not. After marching inside Nagumo's room, Suta carefully examines everything, while Athena gets soaking wet after seeing his clean room and praises him for it. Seeing this, Suta gets jealous and yells at Nagumo, who nervously tells her that she doesn't need to check every room. However, Suta counters that it's either this or she's calling cops on these Diddy fans who have been exploiting him for free labor. After this, Suta goes to examine Minaru's room, but when they find it covered in toxic fumes, Nagumo quickly shuts the door and tells Suta that Minaru is a researcher. Suta is immediately horrified as she recalls hearing about a mad scientist who has been actively destroying the planet. Frey then takes Suta to her room, which is covered in costumes, and for a brief moment, Suta lets her guard down. All of a sudden, Frey throws her to the ground and forces her to wear one of her costumes, but then Athena comes and boinks her on the head. In the meantime, Nagumo starts to worry since the tour is going horribly up till now, but Athena assures him that she will fix everything. As she takes Suta to her neat and clean room, Suta tells her that everything looks way too normal. Surprisingly, Athena takes offense to that as she thinks Suta is calling her boring, but then Nagumo tells her that he feels relaxed after coming inside her room. While Athena's heart goes doki doki, Suta gets angry after hearing Nagumo praise her, so Athena ends up losing all her brownie points. Next up, they head to Kiria's room, where Kiria tells Suta that she loves reading romance mangas, and Suta immediately puts down her guard, much to Athena's annoyance. Kiria then picks a manga to show Suta, but ends up seeing a kissing scene, which gets her so flustered that she punches the wall, leaving Suta completely traumatized. She then rules the dorm unsafe for Nagumo and prepares to burn it when Serene pushes an expired rice cracker inside her mouth, further enraging her. That night, Minaharu tells everyone that Suta is going to stay over since it is already very late, and they would also like to redeem themselves. When Suta hears this, she starts to blush, as this is the first time she will be sleeping in the same room as Nagumo. She then angrily tells Athena that she is going to share rooms, since she is the biggest threat to her. As Athena sets up a futon for Suta, she finds the pipsqueak sulking, so she tries to lighten the mood by asking about Nagumo's childhood. However, Suta tells her that she doesn't know Nagumo anymore, as she never imagined him living with hot babes. While she confronts Athena about her relationship with Nagumo, he takes a hot bath and hopes things go smoothly with Athena and Suta. Just as he gets up to leave, he runs into Kiria and lets out a scream, which alerts Suta and Athena. As the girls rush inside, they find Nagumo and Kiria in the same position your parents were in last night. After getting dressed up, they apologize to Suta and Athena as Nagumo explains that his head got dizzy, and that's how he fell on Kiria. When he apologizes to Kiria, she assures him that she doesn't mind it, since she sees him as her bro. At this, Suta angrily asks if she's always mounting her brothers, which leaves Kiria flustered. Seeing her reaction, Suta gets more upset and tells Kiria that it's unfair that she does freaky things with Nagumo but gets away with everything by pretending to be his sister. After this confrontation, Kiria and Athena start maintaining their distance from Nagumo, which doesn't go unnoticed by him. Once they leave for college, Frey asks Nagumo if he did something to offend the girls, and he recalls poking Kiria with his Everest. He then finds Atena and Kiria's lunch boxes on the table and becomes worried that they won't be able to eat anything at the campus since they are both broke bums. At this, Frey tells him to deliver the food himself, and so moments later, Nagumo arrives at the all-girls college dressed as a baddie. After sneaking inside, Nagumo gets a wedgie from all the running, and as he tries to fix his underwear, the students notice his joystick and excitedly chase after him. Luckily, it leads Nagumo to Atena, who recognizes him, so before he gets diddled, she grabs him and makes a run for it. After reaching a safe distance, Nagumo apologizes for causing so much harm, revealing that he only wanted to bring her food. Atena is thankful and assures Nagumo that she is going to protect him until he safely gives Kiria her lunch. Despite appreciating her help, Nagumo reminds Atena that she has a man phobia, but she assures him not to worry since she doesn't see him as a boy when he's wearing a skirt. After that, Atena takes Nagumo to Kiria, but they collide with each other and end up getting completely drenched. As they head inside a changing room, Nagumo tries to get out but realizes that those diddlers are outside waiting for him. So Atena assures Nagumo that his sisters will protect him and tells him to stay inside while they change. As Nagumo turns to face the wall, the girls get changed, and since Atena is dressed in Kiria's shirt, she asks Nagumo how she looks. Before he can answer, Atena's mega milkers burst out of the shirt, and when Nagumo sees them, Atena gets a nosebleed and faints right there. Later that night, Atena announces they should all go on a vacation, and if Suta is free, she can come along as well. When Serene hears the word vacation, she runs to her room, confusing everyone, especially Atena, who wonders if she said anything wrong. As Nagumo assures Atena that her plan is fantastic, Minoru tells him to check up on Serene. But before knocking on her door, Nagumo thinks to himself that it's the first time he will be entering Serene's room and braces himself for the worst. After stepping inside, Nagumo is greeted by piles of garbage bags with no sign of Serene. As he calls for her, she suddenly appears from underneath the pile of trash, casually revealing that her sleeping place had collapsed. Nagumo then offers to take out all the trash bags, but Serene tells him that these are segments that help her summon the magical powers of the moon. Not understanding a word, Nagumo just smiles until he recalls her saying something familiar. So he asks Serene if she visited him when he was sleeping in Kiria's room, and she casually reveals that she performed lip service, making him realize that what he saw wasn't a dream. After swallowing the embarrassment, Nagumo asks Serene about the vacation, and she reveals that she only leaves the dorm to attend school and isn't used to the idea of going outside. Nagumo is surprised to hear this, while Serene admits that she wants to go on the vacation, but being away from the lunar segments disturbs her peace of mind. Nagumo then tells everything to the girls, and Frey suggests they gather more of these lunar segments so they can create a portable safe zone for Serene at all times. Atena then raises the most important question, that they don't know what these segments are, and Minoru chips in that while Serene has been living in the dormitory for the longest, they don't know much about her. In the end, Nagumo tells the girls they should just look for items that are related to the moon, hoping that will solve their problem. The next morning, Nagumo is on the way to school when he sees Suta wobbling around and calls her to tell her about the trip. However, when he approaches Suta, he finds her completely zoned out and realizes that all the heat is getting to her head. So he quickly pulls out some ice packs and smacks them on her face, which brings her back to reality. Later in class, Nagumo tells Suta about the trip, and she tells him she's coming so she can protect his virginity from those naughty college girls. As she starts slapping Nagumo with her pigtails, Suta gets a feeling that her slave is under attack, despite being at the dormitory. Just then, Frey enters her room carrying a Sailor Moon costume that she has made just for Serene. While she gets excited imagining her in it, Serene tells her that according to her Earth manual, she can't wear indecent costumes outside. Disappointed by Serene's words, Frey turns to leave when she is greeted by Minoru carrying a potion in her hands. She proudly reveals that it's a moonlight sake, which will help bring Serene outside, but as Minoru unscrews the lid, Frey inhales the fumes of the freaky potion and becomes a cultured woman who loves diddling other women. Several hours later, Nagumo returns home only to find Kiria and Serene doing weird TikTok moves. Kiria then reveals they are doing Tai Chi, which is related to the universe, as she hoped it would somehow help Serene. Yet, only seconds later, Serene collapses on the floor and tells Kiria that her body is too inexperienced for Tai Chi. Just then, Frey and Minoru show up in Sailor Moon cosplays, which confuses Nagumo's little Johnny since he doesn't know who he should goon over. Shortly after that, Atena arrives and hands Serene a plain umbrella, which confuses everyone, until Atena tells Serene to open it. Turns out the umbrella has a moonlit sky printed on its roof, and because of it, Serene agrees to come on the trip, which makes Atena happy. Later that night, Nagumo hands Serene her old jumper, revealing that he patched it up for her as he could tell it brings her peace of mind, since she is always wearing it. Serene holds the jacket close to her before thanking Nagumo for fixing something sacred to her. Later that night, Serene sneaks inside Nagumo's room while he is fast asleep and gives him another lip service for fixing her jacket. The next day, they drive up to their resort, only to find a spooky, run-down hotel. Atena is disappointed with herself since she is the one who booked the wrong hotel. However, they all try to cheer her up by making a trip down to the local shrine, but it also has a spooky vibe. While examining the place, Frey casually says that it's like they have arrived at a haunted location, which leaves Kiria so terrified that she embraces Nagumo for comfort. Suta gets jealous and turns into Medusa by using her hair as a weapon to punish Kiria and Nagumo. Later that night, the girls soak in the hot springs, and Kiria shows up wearing everything that will keep the ghosts away from her. While they are all making fun of Kiria, Minaru asks Atena why she suddenly planned a trip, so she explains that she wanted to make up to Suta for the terrible impression they made on her. After this conversation, Minaru and Frey decide to peep on Nagumo, which shocks him, since it's usually a man's job to do cultured activities. To make matters worse, Nagumo ends up bunking with all the girls in one room. He then sees Atena running outside, and wonders if his presence is causing her discomfort, but before he can check on her, Frey grabs him and tries to squish him inside her bazookas. When he finally frees himself and goes outside, Minaru spooks him from behind, revealing that she also wanted to make sure that Atena is okay since the resort has a haunted vibe to it. Nagumo laughs at this, but deep down, he worries about encountering a ghost, so he decides to stay close to Minaru. After failing to locate Atena, they come across the closed annex and decide to search for her there as well. However, upon entering, they find the hallway getting bigger and bigger, which scares Nagumo so much that he tries to hold Minaru's hand, but finds himself completely alone. Just when the panic sets in, Minaru grabs his hand and apologizes for leaving without him. After calming down, Nagumo realizes that Minaru is always there whenever he needs help the most, so he tries to repay her kindness by telling her that he will protect her from any ghosts that might appear. However, Minaru pins him against the wall and starts flirting with him, which gets his lollipop all excited. Before things get extra hard, Nagumo runs to wash his face and ends up finding Atena in one of the rooms. Just then, a creepy figure approaches them, so Atena pulls him inside the room and shuts the door behind. As they hide together, Atena nervously tells Nagumo that she will protect him while trying her best not to get a nosebleed as she leans closer to his face. Just when their lips are about to touch, Minaru switches on the lights and accuses Atena of trying to suck Nagumo's lollipop. The accusation shocks Atena so badly that she falls on the spare mattresses and ends up getting tangled inside them. Right then, Serene arrives, and Nagumo finally realizes that the creepy figure they saw earlier was actually her. The next morning, while the others complain about missing all the excitement, Koshi is simply glad to see that Serene is enjoying herself. In the meantime, Atena is still trying to figure out what she really feels for Koshi when Suta approaches her to talk. But before they can talk, Minaru announces that they are going to the beach. As the girls play volleyball, the bounce effect on their melons upsets Suta, since she has yet to receive the plot update. As she swims away, she wonders if Nagumo is into big jugs and finds him eyeing the girls with binoculars. In reality, Nagumo just wants to do his duty as the dorm mother, but when he sees Atena, his heart races and he recalls the moment when they were about to kiss. Just then, a girl tells her mommy that Nagumo is eyeing girls at the beach, and it snaps him back to reality. As Suta observes all this, she gets annoyed and thinks to herself that Nagumo has always been into older women, given that he had a crush on their teacher once. Just then, Suta starts to feel good in her kitty, and she soon realizes that a fish has crawled inside her hoo-ha. This freaks her out so bad that she slides out of her floater and is about to drown when Nagumo tries to save her, but Kiria beats him to it. After Suta is pulled out of the ocean, Kiria asks her what happened out there, but since Suta can't say she was getting head from a fish, she remains quiet. Just then, Nagumo approaches her and asks if she's okay, but Suta feels bitter that he didn't save her, so she tells him to mind his business. Kiria then intervenes and tells Suta that Nagumo was the first one who noticed she was drowning and was coming to save her. However, since he can't swim to save his own life, she stepped in and saved her. Suta gets flustered, realizing that Nagumo was paying attention to her as well. When the girls learn that Nagumo can't swim and yet he tried to save Suta, they call him cool, but Nagumo is disappointed with himself, so he tells them it was Kiriya who saved Suta. However, Athena reminds him that it was because of his observation that Kiriya got to Suta in time, but Nagumo quickly excuses himself as his heart beats after being praised by her. In the meantime, Suta gets heated up like a Samsung phone when Kiriya slaps some ice packs on her cheeks, revealing it was Nagumo who packed the ice in advance. While Suta feels flattered, Kiriya tells her that she's jealous of their friendship since Nagumo seems to know her like the back of his hand. Suta then feels bad for treating Kiriya harshly in the past, so she apologizes to her, and Kiriya grabs her in a hug, only for her to push her away. At this, Frey asks Suta why she wears her hair long when the heat bothers her so much. Suta whispers to Kiriya about how Nagumo's first crush had long hair, and Frey finds the story so cute that she hugs Suta until the poor girl passes out. As Athena leaves to buy ice cream for her, she gets harassed by a bunch of jocks who want to taste her fish. Just when she is about to have a nosebleed, Nagumo arrives and threatens to call the cops on them. With that, he grabs Athena's hand and takes her away, but then apologizes for touching her. However, she assures him that she doesn't want him touching her since he's practically family to her. As Athena walks away, Nagumo can't help but feel sad about being family zoned by the hottie. A couple of hours later, as Athena takes a shower, Suta comes up to her and apologizes for her bad attitude in the past, explaining that she resented her for no reason when she was the one who helped Nagumo during his hard time. Athena then realizes that, like her, Suta feels envious of those who have helped Nagumo, so she tells her that it was Frey and Minaru who helped Nagumo the most. She further adds that she didn't like being the only one who didn't do anything for Nagumo, so she planned this trip to thank him for everything. Later that afternoon, Suta realizes that she was wrong about Athena having feelings for Nagumo, when in reality, she just wanted to be his big sister. Just when she takes a look at Nagumo's sad face, she wonders if he is the one who has feelings for Athena. Several days later, Nagumo is cooking something when Frey calls his name in a mommy voice before squeezing him inside her bazookas. As Nagumo freaks out, he begs Frey not to use that ara voice on him or he'll cover her with his Alfredo sauce. After breakfast, the girls praise Nagumo for whipping something so delicious, but he remains spaced out, so later on, Frey and Minaru discuss his change of attitude. They wonder if something happened with him during the trip, but Minaru knows he won't tell them anything, so Frey comes up with a plan to make him feel better. Downstairs, Nagumo is cleaning the table when Frey drags him to a cosplay shop and tells him that the best way to feel better is by wearing good outfits. However, when he gets stuck in the costume, Frey comes to his help, but after seeing her on her knees, his soldier gets excited, so he quickly throws her out. Once they finish getting dressed, Frey tells Nagumo that their outfits are actually cosplay from a popular game where his character is in love with hers, even though they are siblings. Nagumo is horrified, knowing that only fat chuds play such games, and later on, Frey reveals they're going to have a heart-to-heart while having a sword fight, since this is all part of the cosplay. Then, swinging her sword, Frey asks Nagumo if something happened during the vacation, but when he tries to lie, Frey tells him that confessing the truth will free him from his burdens. Taking her advice, Nagumo reveals that someone told him they see him as a family member and he should have been happy to hear that, but it instead made him feel worse. Frey then tells him that, like his cosplay, he wants that person to see him as a man, but Nagumo insists that it is wrong to have such feelings, since he is the dorm mother. At this, Frey tells him that he is always running away from his feelings, which is why he got tangled up between his feelings as a man and as their dorm mother. Nagumo counters that he wants to treat them as family instead of seeing them as goon fuels, which is why he suppressed his feelings. Frey notices the tears in Nagumo's eyes and realizes that she pushed him a little too hard, so she quickly apologizes to him. To make him feel better, Frey reveals that in the past she used to hide her true feelings by being blunt to others, but every day she tries to overcome her mistakes. As they later walk home, Nagumo tells Frey that he is not quite ready to face his feelings, but he will do his best to protect the person who sees him as family. And just like that, Frey helps Nagumo overcome his dilemma with a dress-up session. Several days later, Nagumo and Suta arrive at the Seikan College Festival and are greeted by Frey's bubble plots. Nagumo asks her why she is dressed up, so Frey reveals that she is with the fashion department and it's her job to supply costumes to other departments. Before giving them a tour, Frey bamboozles Suta with her huge bazookas, while Nagumo smiles in relief, since no one has yet recognized him as the twink who came in women's clothes. Shortly after, Frey takes them to a creepy tent in the forest, and Nagumo asks her why they have come here, but Frey tells him not to start with that Sherlock bees and pushes them inside. Nagumo then sees Minoru dressed as a witch, selling concoctions, and tells Nagumo to try a drink which will make him last longer in bed. Fed up with her weirdness, Nagumo asks Minoru if she is even allowed to sell these things, and before she can answer, a member of the disciplinary team comes to catch her for the illegal booth, but she quickly blows out the candle and runs off. While Suta and Nagumo are left shocked, Frey assures them that this happens to Minoru every year, and she then takes them to Serene's presentation. Inside the auditorium, a member of the occult club reveals they have classified information to share with everyone. Nagumo is confused and tries to find Serene when her face gets plastered on the PowerPoint, and the presenter calls her an alien whose presence is a sign of doomsday. Just then, another member reveals they spotted Serene outside, so the entire occult club runs to catch her. When Suta claims they are going to dissect Serene, Nagumo becomes worried and says they must save her. As they step outside, they find themselves covered in a pink mist, while everyone around them is having a massive ditty party. The president of the occult club wonders loudly if this is all because of Serene, and Nagumo tries to tell her that she's got it all wrong when he steps on an empty bottle. Upon closer inspection, he realizes it's one of Minoru's elixirs, which is known to increase freaky emotions, and it becomes clear to him that this is all because of her. Just then, the president asks Nagumo if they have met before, and he realizes that she's one of the freaks who were chasing after him. Suddenly, Frey puts a wig on him, making the girl realize that Nagumo is the chick with a stick who visited the college before. Nagumo then asks Frey why she got him in trouble, only to find out that the elixir has worked on her as well. Before he knows it, all the local MILFs in the area jump on him to taste his lollipop. Seeing this, Suta screams at them to get off of Nagumo, only to end up as a victim herself. Just when the president is about to eat Nagumo's cake, Serene shows up and uses lunar technology to cause a flash that immediately brings everyone to their senses. When the air clears up, Nagumo finds Serene lying on the ground as she reveals that using her powers on so many people at once took a toll on her. After bringing Serene to the infirmary, Nagumo asks her if she wants to eat some snacks to replenish her energy, but she tells him that only physical contact with her servant can make her feel better. However, Nagumo freaks out at the thought of kissing Serene again, but she assures him that she has done this with her other servants, which gives him a clear mental picture of Serene diddling other girls at the dormitory. So as Serene tries to kiss him, Nagumo thinks of Athena and tries to push her away. Just then, Frey and Suta arrive with a snack, which reminds Serene of the galaxy, so she forgets all about Nagumo. After that, Frey tells Suta and Nagumo about Athena's maid cafe, so they decide to visit her. In the meantime, Athena fixes her maid costume and is determined to overcome her man phobia. However, when she steps inside the cafe and gets greeted by so many men, she starts freaking out. Nagumo and the gang arrive shortly, and Suta immediately gets hooked on the maid outfits, while Athena nervously serves Nagumo but ends up tripping, but luckily, Suta catches the plate in time. Nagumo then tells Athena to get her rack out of his face, although deep down he doesn't mind being suffocated by her fat jugs. A few minutes later, Athena goes to serve a table full of men, and when they try to hit on her, Nagumo tries to rescue her, but Frey stops him and tells him to let Athena handle it. He then sees Athena firmly telling the guys off, and while he is amazed by it, Frey reveals that Athena has been putting conscious efforts into curing her man phobia. In the meantime, Athena completes her shift, and her friend tells her that she did an amazing job despite her condition. So Athena explains that she is trying to build her tolerance for men, so she can spend more time with Nagumo. Her friend then suggests she spend some time with Nagumo, but Athena hesitates and says they will be short-staffed if she were to go with him. Just then, Frey pops up with Suta in a kidnapping bag and assures Athena that they'll take care of the cafe before revealing Suta in the maid outfit. When Nagumo appears to check on them, Frey pushes Athena towards him and tells them to have a good time, which leaves them flustered. Moments later, they arrive at the cross-dressing competition and are stunned to see Kiriya in a suit. Turns out, she is the judge of the show since she won last year's competition by making all the chicks wet with her boyish looks. Nagumo suddenly feels thirsty and grabs a drink from his bag, but after chugging it down, he realizes he accidentally drank one of Minoru's potions that makes one act on their true feelings. Nagumo becomes worried that he may accidentally blurt something out to Athena, but since he doesn't have any other options, he quietly goes to meet up with Kiriya, who then reveals 3 passes to a maze game. Just when Athena explains that she has to return to the cafe, Nagumo excitedly shouts that he wants to see the maze. So they all end up going inside and quickly find out that the maze is designed in a spooky way. Since Kiria doesn't have any tolerance for such things, Nagumo bravely tells her that he is going to protect her, which leaves Athena impressed, and she hopes Nagumo will behave like this more often. At the same time, Kiria grabs Nagumo's arm and says she wants to finish the maze together. Feeling a little left out, Athena then tells Nagumo that she wants him to protect her, even though she's not a wimp like Kiria. However, in that moment, Nagumo feels like a macho man, so he takes the girls through the maze, but moments later, they end up tripping in the darkness. When the lights are switched on, Nagumo finds his hands blessed with Athena and Kiria's melons. Embarrassed by his actions, Nagumo later complains to Minaru about her potion, but she casually reveals that what he drank was pure water, since she just wanted to test out the placebo effect. Upon hearing this, Nagumo feels worse as he comes to realize that he behaved like a buffoon because he is a buffoon. When Frey sees Nagumo's crash out, she instantly realizes that he must have fondled some jugs and feels happy for him. A week later, Kiria gets a call from her parents, and noticing her worried expressions, Athena and Nagumo become worried for her. So after the call, they ask Kiria what's troubling her, and she explains that every year, her parents throw a Christmas party at the dojo for their students. This year, however, they have to go out of town, which means she will have to organize the party on her own. While Nagumo feels sorry for Kiria, Athena enthusiastically says she is going to help her since she wants to test her home economic skills. When Nagumo also volunteers to help, Kiria announces that it's time for some Christmas shopping. A few hours later, Athena showers so she can go to the mall, but just then Nagumo enters and catches her looking like a wet goddess. Athena freaks out and tries to run away, only to end up falling on top of Nagumo's bone coaster. This leads to a heavy nosebleed, which drains her so much that she tells Kiria she can't come with her anymore. Since it's all his fault, Nagumo apologizes profusely before assuring Kiria that he is going to do twice the work now that Athena isn't coming with them. Kiria gets a little flustered when she realizes she is going to be completely alone with Nagumo. To make matters worse, Minaru appears out of nowhere and teases Kiria for going on a date with Nagumo, which causes her to run away in embarrassment. Moments later, they arrive at the mall, where Nagumo asks her what they should buy first. So Kiria suggests they buy snacks, and after getting what they need, Kiria casually looks around and sees a couple, and it makes her wonder if she and Nagumo look like a couple to others. Once they are done shopping, Kiria and Nagumo decide to look at the Christmas tree, where Kiria notices a lot of lovebirds and gets feelings for Nagumo. Moments later, they sit down to grab a bite, and Kiria starts freaking out as she wonders if this counts as her first date with Nagumo. She then overhears a couple of girls calling them a cute pair of siblings, which shatters her heart. Kiria wonders if Nagumo sees her as a sister and suddenly feels envious of Athena since she knows Nagumo feels something for her. Later on, they arrive at the gift shop where Nagumo starts laughing at a freaked-out Christmas decoration. Kiria feels happy seeing Nagumo behave like boys of his age, but then curses herself since she can't decide if she wants him as her brother or lover. Nagumo then asks her if she is going to dress up as Santa, so Kiria reveals her plan of getting a beard and dressing up as a fat Santa Claus, which weirds out Nagumo, who then tells her that she should dress hot. Kiria tells Nagumo that feminine clothes would not suit her since she's a tomboy, but Nagumo argues that she looks great in dresses, which leaves her blushing like a tomato. When Nagumo realizes what he has done, he quickly apologizes and tells Kiria they should go home so they can ask Frey to help them. Much later in Frey's room, Kiria thanks her for helping her out with the costumes at the last minute. Nagumo gets up to leave, but Frey ties him down, telling him that he needs to be there for the measurements. As Frey starts to strip Kiria, Nagumo's sin machine gets activated, so before he spills out his juices, he wiggles out of the room as fast as possible. On the day of the Christmas party, Nagumo heads to take a shower, only to bump into Athena, which causes yet another nosebleed. In the end, Athena is unable to attend Kiria's party, so Kiria asks Serene to replace Athena. When Serene asks what she is going to offer in return, Kiria bribes her with galaxy-shaped sweets. A few hours later, Kiria brings Nagumo and Serene to her dojo, where they are greeted by her brother and students, who force them to participate in the dojo. So, after getting changed, Nagumo watches Kiria do some moves and gets amazed by her vast knowledge of martial arts. Kiria then calls him to demonstrate a move, but when their eyes meet, she blushes and slams him against the floor. Once they are done training for the day, Nagumo gets changed into a reindeer costume and asks the students to help him put on the decorations. He tries to bribe them with badges, but they all call him unsi for saying something so lame. While Nagumo is feeling sorry for himself, he sees a girl sitting alone in the corner. He goes to check on her, and she reveals that she's the worst student in class, which is why she doesn't deserve to play with others. Nagumo understands her and reveals that it's hard to make friends when you feel like an outsider, and thinks about the mommies he has befriended. He then hands the girl one of his badges, assuring her that she is a good girl when the rest of the students also come to get their badges. After his emotional meltdown, Nagumo decorates the dojo with the help of the students, and minutes later, Kiriya and Serene show up dressed as Thoughty Santa and an elf. Upon seeing them together, Nagumo feels his rocket ready to launch at any moment. Kiriya then asks him if she looks okay, so he nervously tells her that she looks so good that he wants to feed her his burrito. While they are having a cute moment, Kiriya's brother lifts her skirt and flashes her jiet to everyone, which earns him a well-deserved punch. After that, they distribute presents, and then Kiriya's brother tells her to ride Nagumo's back, since that's his job as Santa's reindeer. While Kiriya hesitates, Serene takes a seat on Nagumo's back, and he immediately feels something wet, so he nervously asks Serene if she's wearing something underneath her skirt, but she casually says no, shocking everyone. After having his first experience with the kitty, Nagumo sits alone to contemplate the meaning of life when Kiriya shows up. She apologizes for not giving him a present, but he assures her that after feeling Serene's raw kitty on his back, he doesn't need presents for the next 10 years. Moments later, he puts a badge around Kiriya's neck and tells her that it's a reward for working so hard. Kiriya feels touched by this gesture and leans in to kiss Nagumo when Serene shows up and ruins the moment. A few months later, Nagumo sweeps the yard while Atena watches him freeze from her window. Just then, Frey and Minaru call everyone downstairs to reveal the new kotatsu. Nagumo falls in love with it right away, so Minaru asks him if it's his first time seeing one. Nagumo then reminds her that he was a homeless beggar, so duh. After that, they all sit together around it, and when Kiriya chooses to sit next to Nagumo, Atena gets a little jealous. To make matters worse, Kiriya forces Nagumo to sit on her lap, since that's how siblings normally behave. Nagumo quickly gets up in embarrassment and tells Kiriya that she is behaving inappropriately, while in the meantime, Atena continues to sulk after seeing their closeness. Moments later, Minaru teases Nagumo by putting her feet on his thighs, which soon gives Frey the idea to rub Nagumo's feet on her thigh. Eventually, this leads to a game of footsies, and as everyone has a jolly good time, Nagumo smiles and admits that he always wanted to have a big, lively family. This makes Atena remember that he lost everything because of a fire, so just when she's about to console him, Minaru and the other girls beat her to it. Kiriya then shares her story with the kotatsu from back home, revealing that she and her brothers used to complete their homework while sitting around it until sleep would take over them. Atena then imagines sitting next to Nagumo while he does his homework and gets all happy over it. So when Nagumo tells them that he has to finish his homework, Atena tries to offer her help, but he cuts her off and asks if he can invite Suta over, much to Atena's disappointment. The following day, Nagumo invites Suta to hang out with him around the kotats, but she immediately yells at him, saying that she gets too heated up around that thing. Since Nagumo is desperate to have friends over, he tells Suta that he won't switch on the kotatsu, but Suta counters that it'll defeat the whole purpose of sitting around it. As Nagumo finds himself struggling, he wonders if it was always hard for him to talk to people. Suta notices the disappointment on his face and feels bad for him, so she agrees to come on the condition of getting free ice cream. Once they arrive at the dormitory, Nagumo is surprised to find the living hall completely empty since everyone is usually curled up around the kotatsu. Moving on, as the duo starts working on their homework, Suta notices that Nagumo is freezing, so she tells him to just switch on the damn thing. But when Nagumo goes under it, he sees Suta's chicken legs, and his own rooster starts waking up in his pants. After a while, Nagumo starts getting drowsy from the comforting heat of the kotatsu, and when he finds Suta fast asleep, he decides to take a nap as well. Shortly after, Suta wakes up after getting heated up like a vibrator from Shein and decides to take a look at Nagumo's homework. She then starts to fix his mistakes, when all of a sudden, Nagumo stretches his leg and ends up tickling Suta's fish, till she reaches O-Town. Just as Suta sighs in pleasure, she notices Atena staring at her from the door, so in panic, she throws the tabletop at Nagumo. A few hours later, Frey and Minaru return home with the ingredients for a hot pot. As Minaru tries to hand Nagumo the supplies, they all find him wearing a ban from using kotatsu sign. Atena feels bad for Nagumo, so she decides to do something nice for him. In the meantime, Nagumo wishes Frey best of luck, since she is about to participate in a cosplay event. But before leaving, Frey tells him to take care of the spring cleaning. So later on, Nagumo arrives at Frey's room to clean up. He is shocked to find the entire place completely disorganized, so when he starts to panic, Atena arrives and volunteers to help. Thankful for her help, Nagumo promises to clean her room next, but since Atena doesn't want him finding out about her surprise, she passes on the offer. While they're talking, Serene's door is on break open, so Nagumo rushes to hold it together, while Atena notices Serene trying to climb out of the window. Before Serene falls down, Nagumo hurries outside to catch her, and she makes a perfect landing on his face. After eating the taco, Nagumo goes upstairs to examine Serene's room, but she refuses to let anyone inside. Just then, Suta arrives to check up on Nagumo and ends up staying over to help him. During the cleanup, Nagumo comes across several costumes that Frey made him wear, and Suta gets jealous since she wants to see Nagumo's sausage hanging out of a skirt. After cleaning Frey's room, they move on to Minaru's room, which oddly looks clean. Then all of a sudden, they find themselves in Minaru's secret lab, where they get decontaminated. A moment later, Minaru appears and proudly explains that she redesigned the lab to prevent her experiments from releasing toxic fumes again. Meanwhile, Nagumo wonders how a broke college student like Minaru afforded such a high-tech lab, but decides to keep that thought to himself. Since Minaru's room doesn't need to be cleaned, they move on to Serene's room, but she refuses to let anyone come close. As a final resort, Atena brings out Serene's favorite snacks to distract her, and when she moves away, they bust down the door, only to be greeted by a horde of trash. However, after going through the pile, they realize that a lot of the things are actually useful, and that's when Serene reveals that she wanted to give them something meaningful for treating her with kindness when she deserved to be lobotomized. After hearing her out, Nagumo and Suta return to the cleanup, while Minaru finds a bottle of sake and starts getting funny ideas. Moments later, Nagumo finds Atena, Minaru, and Serene high as a kite, which activates his fight or flight. But before he can run, they pin him down, while Atena drunkenly complains about him always hanging out with Suta. Speaking of which, Suta arrives and beats the living daylights out of Nagumo for enjoying too much. The following day, Nagumo cleans the day as usual and thinks about how much of a headache spring cleaning really was. After heading inside, he asks the girls about their plans for New Year's Eve, and Minaru reveals that she will be staying in her lab for a research project, and Frey will likely be away for another event. Kireya also chimes in that she's staying at the dormitory since she just saw her family for Christmas, and when Nagumo asks Serene, she tells him that she is going to be a couch potato all winter. Since Atena is also staying at the dorm, Nagumo admits that he never imagined ending this year with 5 baddies who have the potential to cure world hunger with their milk packs. Minaru then assures Nagumo that they will have many good moments together, so he promises to make a grand dinner for everyone. At this, Minaru gives him a big allowance for the groceries and asks Atena to accompany him, but she refuses to go. This makes Nagumo wonder if he did something to offend her, while in reality, Atena just wants to work on his present. At the supermarket, Nagumo picks up ingredients for dinner, while Kireya watches him and realizes he looks exhausted. However, Nagumo assures her that he is fine, only to collapse in the next moment. Kireya rushes back home with Nagumo and alerts everyone about his condition. So Frey rushes back home and tries to boost his health by pushing him inside her airbags. He then tries to get started on the feast, but the girls strictly tell him to rest, and he ends up going back to sleep. Later on, Minaru holds a meeting where she explains that it is up to them to cure Nagumo's fever, and Frey uses this moment to pull out a thoughty nurse outfit. But Atena angrily tells her that she looks like a high-budget stripper. While they are arguing, Kireya plays Fruit Ninja with actual fruits so she can feed the juice to Nagumo. To further add chaos, Suta arrives and anxiously asks Nagumo if he has cancer, so he calmly tells her that it's just an ordinary fever. Suta then breathes a sigh of relief and tells Nagumo that she thought he was going to leave him again, but he assures him that he won't die until he taps her flat gyat. After this, Suta checks Nagumo's fever by placing her forehead against his, but as their eyes meet, Suta gets flustered and ends up fainting on him. Just then, Minaru and Atena arrive to check up on Nagumo but find him already lost in the sauce. While they drag Suta away, Frey attacks Nagumo from the futon and tries to recharge him by feeding him her milk. Unfortunately, Atena stops her before Nagumo could taste heaven. As they start arguing again, Kiriya arrives with a suspicious-looking drink for Nagumo, but Atena stops her as she doesn't want Nagumo to get explosive diarrhea from the juice. During the back and forth, Atena ends up exposing her jiggly wiggles, and it gives her a nosebleed so bad that she passes out. That night, Nagumo has a nightmare where he sees his old house going up in flames. He then wakes up covered in sweat and heads outside to wash up, where he meets Kiriya, who starts to strip him of his sweaty clothes. But this awakens his anaconda, and that makes Kiriya back away in embarrassment. Nagumo runs towards the washroom to hide his south pole, but Frey and Serene grab him and give him a naughty oil massage. Meanwhile, in the laundry room, Kiriya is about to sniff Nagumo's underwear, but stops herself in time. She then hears Nagumo's scream and rushes outside only to find him in his default skin. So she quickly throws some clothes at him, and after wearing them, Nagumo turns into a twink. Out of embarrassment, Nagumo goes outside and starts cleaning the yard. In the meantime, Atena cooks a soup for Nagumo, and Minaru tries to add her special seasonings, but Atena stops her, stating that it will give Nagumo explosive diarrhea. Just then, Nagumo walks inside and startles the girls, causing the seasoning to spill inside the shop. This leads to a blast, which ends up burning their clothes, and seeing so much plot makes Nagumo faint again. That evening, the girls find out that Nagumo's fever has not broken yet, so Atena tells the girls she is going to look after Nagumo on her own. The girls agree to leave Nagumo in her care, and so Atena tends to him all night. When Nagumo whimpers in pain, Atena holds his hand and tells him that she has been grateful for everything he has done for her, because of him, she found the courage to face her manphobia. After telling Nagumo to get well soon, Atena ends up falling asleep next to him. The next morning, Nagumo wakes up with renewed health and finds Atena nuzzled next to him, making him realize that she was taking care of him all night. Nagumo later returns to his usual chores when Atena gives him the mittens she had been working on. Nagumo is thankful for the present and then asks Atena to come with him to buy groceries. Just as Atena agrees to go, the other girls tell Nagumo they want to come with him too. So they all decide to go together like one big happy family. Who was your favorite baddie? Comment bazookas if you want to watch more such anime, and as always, like and subscribe. For more recaps, watch this video on screen.